Hi, everyone. I'm so excited you could join us for this panel discussion on career transformation with Domo. This panel is sponsored by Women at Domo Council, and it's being broadcast live back to Domo HQ. For those who don't know me, I'm Andrea Henderson. I'm a product manager here at Domo. I've worked closely with our customers over the last 9 years that I've been at Domo. And a theme that I've heard over and over is working with Domo has changed the trajectory of my career. This drumbeat started playing in my head and kind of became the concept for this panel. And it became clear to me with each customer that I met that Domo is unique. Working with Domo can be transformative, and we seem to have this special combination of both power and accessibility that gives folks what they need to make big impacts within their companies, launching their own careers and trajectories that they never thought possible. All right, so speaking of launching careers, I was fortunate enough to get involved with Tech Moms this past year, an organization that helps moms re-enter the workforce through the lens of tech. As a mom in tech myself, I'm super passionate about enabling other moms to establish and grow their careers. Domo and Tech Moms has been a bit of a match made in heaven, honestly. And as we kick off today's panel, I want to introduce you to my friend, Allison Law, a data scientist, Tech Moms instructor extraordinaire, and recent winner of the Domo Ovation Educator of the Year Award. So, Allison.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Law. And I, by way of introduction, I got my career start at a formerly small startup called GitHub. And when I was there, because you all are numbers people, I was employee number 130, and I was the 13th woman hired. I spent about 10 years there, and by the end of my career there in 2021, there was about 2,000 employees, and I was the most tenured woman in the company. And that brought me to where I am now, which is Tech Moms. So I took a career break after my decade of working in data there and got introduced to Tech Moms, which is a local Utah nonprofit. Tech Moms is amazing in so many ways, but this last year we launched our first data analytics cohort. And so the women are learning all different data analysis skills, learning SQL, and we introduced a Domo module, which, like Andrea said, it was a match made in heaven. Actually, I'm like fangirling a little bit because our module is using the Domo education dashboard dude content. So I'm like, oh, hi, I know you. So the students spend a week watching those videos and learning about how data is related to making recipes, and the analogy with food is so good. And so we graduated 25 women from this data analytics cohort last semester, and we got funding to do another cohort this semester. We have another 25 women. Again, getting started in data for the first time. Maybe these women have taken their own career breaks. Maybe they're in jobs that are not great fits for them in the sense that they have to be in person full time, and tech allows them to have more flexible schedules. And learning the tools and learning to analyze data and using Domo is just a great fit for them.
Amazing. Thanks, Allison. Tech Moms is truly incredible, and I feel so fortunate to be involved. We've seen one way in which others are getting into tech and data. So now let's meet some Domo customers who have had their own career trajectories changed by working with Domo. I would like to introduce Ashley Stevenson, Alexis Lorenz, and Erin Dean. Together with Allison, I guess the five of us make the A team. That was accidental, but it's what happened. So I'd like to hear from each of you, though, a more formal introduction. So maybe tell me your name, where you're from, your company, your favorite Domo feature. You don't have to say Magic ETL. Erin, let's start with you. Last time I spoke with you, you were literally on a boat. So I'm fascinated to hear where you're from. I assume not the ocean.
I'm not from the ocean. I just got my land legs back. Yeah, so Erin Dean, I'm from a little town called Woodstock, New York. Some of you may have heard it, the namesake of the music festival. I haven't been there in quite a long time. I've been traveling for the last couple of years, traveling the world. It's an honor to be here and be on the stage with such amazing people. And my favorite feature of Domo is probably notes. Like, I go crazy places in my head when I build things, and just being able to look back and be like, I was in the right place when I put this together.
Hello, everyone. So happy to be here with all of you guys. My name is Ashley, and I'm a business intelligence developer with CA USA. We are a military training and simulation company. We build flight simulators to train military pilots. And I've been using Domo for about 7 years, and I'm currently our major Domo, doing everything from governance to ETLs to dashboarding. I would say out of all the great tools in Domo right now, my favorite would have to be Analyzer. I think it's a great tool to help with the creative process. I think it's underappreciated sometimes and we take it for granted, but I love being able to make such easy, quick changes that really make an impact in the business.
Hi, I'm Alexis Lorenz. I've been loving Domo since 2015, and I'm an independent consultant serving a variety of clients from manufacturing to medical school. Aside from the usual business analytics, I bring value to clients through my obsession with governance and passion for training, and I set up clients to get the most out of their Domo instance.
Great. So Ashley, you started using your Domo career, or you started using Domo as a college intern. At this time, did you know what you wanted to do in your career, and how did Domo provide a framework for you to accomplish that?
Yeah, so when I started out as an intern, I really had no clue what I wanted to do. My background was in math and computer science. I really was never in the world of data and analytics. I started and they said, just start using Domo and figure everything out you can about it. And I just started learning what I could through the knowledge base and community forums, watching YouTube videos from some other great Domo customers. And I quickly became the expert. And now I can really attribute Domo to kicking me off into a data and analytics career.
That's amazing. On the topic of evolution, Alexis, we know that you've had quite the evolution with Domo. Tell us a little bit about how you transitioned from MetLife to owning your own consulting agency.
Sure. So at MetLife, I found myself in a situation where I had 7 daisy-chained access databases, if anybody's ever had on the business side, trying to bridge that gap between the business and IT. And then I found Domo, and that really changed everything. I found very quickly that if you give me a problem, I can most likely solve it in Magic ETL. And I just went around the company eating manual processes for lunch. So when I left MetLife, my sales team knew a lot about my capabilities. So I came to Domopalooza and I left with a contract. So my contacts at Domo, my sales team, my friends had conversations with me about what was next and set me up for success. So Domo really came through.
Eating manual processes for lunch, like Slay Queen. Okay. Speaking of creating your own business, Aaron also has his own consulting agency centered around Domo. Aaron, tell us a little bit about how Domo has helped provide the flexibility for you to define your own career.
I love this question. Thank you. So I started off being exposed to Domo at an employee-owned business, and that was a very new thing. I'd never heard of it. I saw Domo as an opportunity to learn some new things. I knew nothing about data. I started at 0 and used Magic ETL to teach myself the concepts of data. I spent a lot of time collaborating with people and asking them questions and finding what in the data could really be useful. And that was a really wonderful way to sort of figure it out. I'm not as much of a technical sort of documentation person. I'd like to get my hands on things. And the people that I worked with really appreciated it. So that really allowed me to explore. I had a lot of health problems at the time as well. I have ulcerative colitis, which is an autoimmune disease. And one of the things that I really appreciate about Domo is that it's really allowed me to define my own interests, my own career, and have the power to leverage my strengths to really collaborate with people. And so Deanalytics, my agency, is really all about helping employee-owned businesses and organizations that use alternative management models So teal organizations, employee-owned trusts, co-ops, I do believe that Domo is the best tool in the industry, and it's even better for people who really want to own what they have. So being flexible is really important, especially when you want to travel the world. So I get to have my dreams and help people have theirs.
Awesome. So let's start with Alexis, but can each of you share with me a defining moment when you realized that Domo was going to play a key role in your career growth, and what was that moment like for you?
So I had a sort of interesting experience. I had the pleasure of having a phenomenal sales team that sold our contract to MetLife when I was with MetLife. And it also included someone who helped build some of Domo product. And so he was really able to help me learn a lot faster. And I quickly got named Data Maven by our sales team. And they talked about me in the office. They talked about Data Maven, and people didn't know my real name. So still today, when I meet people who have been here for a long time, I say, have you heard of, when they meet me for the first time, I ask them if they've heard of Data Maven before, and often they have. And so that really boosted my confidence, and it also gave me the avenue. Something that Domo is really good at is being open to having conversations with the customers and all of the users, and at every level of the organization. And so I got the confidence to know that if I needed to learn something new or figure out how something worked or say something was wrong, I had the resources to reach out to somebody and get that resolved. And ultimately, I suggested regular meetings of super users of Domo, partially because Domopalooza is so much fun for all of us. It's like summer camp. And we would really love each other, but we'd only see each other once a year. So we started having these meetings in late 2019, and it was really well positioned because then COVID hit, and we all needed to have that social time. So we kind of trauma bonded, I think. Is that accurate? And so we still today, since 2019 to early 2020 was really when we got going, still today we meet every Friday, and we're very close friends. So most of the people that are in our little group that meets on Fridays, most of them are the big contributors to the community forums and the ideas exchange. So you most likely know all of them as well. And we love competing to help you. It's one of our favorite games.
Excellent, yeah. Ashley. Go ahead, Ashley.
Oh, yeah. I would have to say that my pivotal moment would be when I was in Utah for a Connections tour back in 2022, and I did a presentation about how we implemented training at my company, and I used Course Builder and Google Analytics to create the training in Domo and track the training. And being new in my career and on the tail end of COVID, I really had never done anything like that, and it gave me a lot of confidence and encouraged me to continue down that path in my career. And here I am at Domopalooza in a breakout session on a panel with some amazing people, so I'm thankful for having that moment.
Wow, that's a good one. Yeah, so the employee-owned company that I mentioned before, I think my pivotal moment was just everyone didn't really know what to do. Okay, suddenly we're owners. What does that mean? I need to care about data now? Like, net profit is my profit? Like, I need to work? A lot of challenges, like from a cultural side on that level, and creating a tool that was accessible. And I think that Domo's accessibility really allows people to enjoy the ownership that they can have. I love to tell this story about a guy named Ken. Ken played the guitar and worked at this company, and he'd been there for like 35 years. He was one of the first people to retire. And in the short time that I was there in the capacity to implement Domo, our share price raised 40%, and he retired a millionaire as a result of that, like a multimillionaire. And Ken, I remember on the last day before he left, he was just expressing his gratitude for everyone really pulling together and making the most of the experience, and that really set the bar for the rest of the organization. And I know that I played a really pivotal role in that. I've been chasing it ever since.
Okay, Allison, you come at this from the perspective of an educator. At what point did you realize Domo could be impactful for your students?
When I met you. So when we first got introduced, it was just like, yes, let's do this. What became impactful was, well, to go back to the mission of Tech Moms. So the mission of Tech Moms is to help women transition into technical roles through upskilling, networking, and career exploration. So in our course, our Domo module, we do the Dashboard Dude videos, and then Andrea teaches a 4-hour workshop at Domo HQ for our 25 women. And by the end of the workshop, they have created their own dashboard with their own data set. And I think just them being able to have a completed dashboard that they've created with your help and going through all of the Magic ETL stuff, you can see how that's impactful. And then just to mention, one of our students then connected with Domo for Good and was able to do her capstone using Domo with a nonprofit called Women Tech Council here in Utah. And she did her capstone analyzing all of the data from this conference that they put on. They get together 3,000 high school girls to teach them about STEM. And so she was able to visualize that all in a Domo dashboard, and they use that as a resource. And so, yeah, so many ways that Domo and Tech Moms has impacted the women in the cohort.
Amazing. I love that story. Is Andy here in the audience today? Yeah, right in the back. Nice work, Andy.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the themes that I saw across each story was the way that Domo provides an on-ramp for people to improve their technical skills. So Alexis, you credit Magic ETL for helping you learn SQL. Can you tell us a little bit about how Domo has improved your technical skills?
So each tile represents a function, basically. And within Magic ETL, you're very easily able to just go in and play with those functions and see what they do and explore the various things that you can do with your data. And these tiles ultimately end up, when you ask the questions of, well, what does this look like in SQL? You're developing the language that you need to be able to understand and utilize SQL. And so I started out just playing with it, seeing the results, seeing what everything did, understanding how things fit together, understanding things like Cartesian joins and such, the different rank functions and how they work. And then I started going through and needing to convert some data flows that were SQL into Magic ETL. So you may recall that in the early days, Magic ETL was not nearly as fast as it is now. And there were also a lot of people resistant to the tool. It was difficult to transition people from SQL over to Magic ETL. And so those, came to a point where the SQL data flows weren't running as efficiently. And so we were transitioning them over. So by that point, I was able to go through the SQL and very easily understand how to implement that in the data flow. And this really solidified my understanding, because I would have the SQL data flow and its results, and then I would have my Magic ETL and its results. And if they were different, I could start figuring out exactly what the caveats were and what I needed to do. And also, sometimes I would find mistakes in the SQL that were there the whole time. So that was really fun as well.
Love that. Ashley, you studied math and computer science in college, so you had some technical background already. How did you use the foundations of your academics to shape or define your journey?
Yeah, so as someone who studied math, you really have to be a problem solver, but then math really forces you to also know how to explain how you solve that problem. And I love in Magic ETL, you can solve really complex problems, but using the tiles really forces you to break down that problem into its smaller chunks. And while you could just throw like a scripting tile in there or the new SQL tile that was announced today, I take it as a challenge to not just do that, but to actually understand the problem, put it in its chunks. And sometimes I do both. So I'll do a Python tile or I'll do a scripting tile, and then I'll do it in its other tiles as well, just to challenge myself to see if I can understand and break the problem down, because this ultimately helps your non-technical users later down the line be able to solve this, while also gives you a challenge to see how well you understand the problem. So I attribute a lot of that to my academics with math and computer science. And a little shout out to Magic, love Magic.
If you can't tell, I'm the product manager over Magic. So sorry. I think that what you said there about breaking down the problem for others really exemplifies how you came to be known as like the Domo person and the teacher at your company. So that's awesome. Aaron, you like to talk about data ownership systems. How does Domo provide you with the platform to enable these?
Sure. So I'm sure we've all done silly things in Domo. When I first got it, I made a 1.5 trillion row data set by accident by doing an inner join on null values. I needed to own that. Thankfully, Domo was there to pick up the phone and explain to me what had gone wrong. But in terms of ownership, we really have an incredible privilege. We get to help people understand what information they have to leverage their knowledge and to learn new things. And in that way, I really feel very strongly about thinking about what we do as showing people a level of freedom that they can have, a level of choice that they can have. And so for me, data has always been about choice. How many of us have had users where we've built something for them and they didn't make a decision? We've all been there. And so people really need to not just feel a sense of confidence, but feel a sense of connection to the process. I think Domo does that really well. So I like using the phrase data ownership system because I want users to really understand that this is designed for them. It's designed for the actions that they want to take, and having a connection to the results allows us to think like scientists without feeling like we need lab coats, right? Sometimes we're humans and we roll out of bed and need to solve something. So I think data ownership system has a nice ring to it, but it's also maybe an invitation.
I'm going to steal that because I'm pretty sure that my whole life is like rolling out of bed and being a human that needs to solve something. So, yeah. So I'd like to hear from each of you, starting with Allison. What would be your number one tip for those starting out with Domo or looking to learn more and grow their careers?
Yeah, there's a great education platform that Domo has that is accessible specifically if you have a .edu email, but I believe a lot of there's videos on YouTube. Let's see. For getting started with Domo, another option is if you are someone that's working in Domo, you have access to the Domo for Good platform. You can work with, I believe her name is Ashley, and she can connect you if you are familiar with a nonprofit that might need to stand up a dashboard, like what Andy did, getting access to an instance for Domo for Good, and then taking on a mentee as someone that's established in your career and being able to train them up on how to use Domo, and then that will help jumpstart one person, and making a difference in one person's life is a great place to start.
I love that. Aaron?
Yeah, wow. Obviously, being here at Domopalooza and being surrounded by a bunch of wonderful nerds, I learn a lot whenever I'm in the company of other Domo users. I think the Slack community has been really, really powerful. I think everyone's really open to sharing what they know, and I certainly have issues that come up, and it's simple for someone else, and I think that that's okay. I think it's really acclimate to the idea that we're all here to really help each other. It's wonderful to be able to share a solution that you got from someone else at some point. And I think that kind of mindset really helps grow the entire community and the platform as a whole. And then we can say, hey, we want this feature request, or this would be really neat or nifty. I think it's kind of fun to play at that angle. So don't think you're alone in it. Feel free to talk to someone that's of interest to you, and I'm sure they'll be there to help.
One tip I would give is definitely just get in the product, solve a problem. The best way that I ever learned, besides watching some good YouTube videos, was just finding a problem and just starting to tackle it. And if you don't have a problem that you think you can solve, plenty of us post our problems in the community forums, and would love you guys to come and solve our problems. So you can also, solving those problems is a bit of a gamification, so you can earn points and work your way up the leaderboard. So it's a really good opportunity to go out there, find a problem, solve it, help someone else, and earn some points and work your way up the leaderboard as well.
My answer is problem related as well. When you go and start working in Domo, especially for the first time, it can be very overwhelming, and even throughout your career working in Domo. And my advice is to really ground yourself and focus on solving one problem at a time. Something that is wonderful about Domo is the fact that you can rearrange and rework things as you learn. And so if you go through the process, solving one problem at a time, and then you can look at the whole, everything that you built, and figure out if you need to move some things around, and that will make it a lot more manageable.
Awesome. A lot of great wisdom there. So I don't know about the rest of you. I'm super inspired by what I've heard here today. What really stands out to me is that anybody can learn this. Anyone can do this. Domo can give you the platform you need to make big impacts in your company or launch your own entrepreneurial endeavors. I don't know, or if you don't know where to start or are looking for your next step, I'd encourage you to get over to the Domo community, interact, ask, answer questions. We have great trainings and webinars, and the folks hanging out in the forums are the best of the best. They know Domo better than anybody and can help you along your path. Allison, I want to pass it back to you for a moment. How can folks get involved if they want to volunteer with Tech Moms, or if they know of somebody who would be a good candidate for a Tech Moms program?
Sure. So one of the ways to get involved with Tech Moms is to be a guest speaker. Every Saturday in my class, we have a guest speaker come on and talk about their career, kind of like what we're doing now, and how they got started and how they got to where they are. And that's really inspirational. That's what Andrea does during her 4-hour workshop, explaining where she started and how she got to where she is now. So get in touch with me, and it would be really cool to have you as a guest speaker. And then if you know someone that would be a good candidate for Tech Moms, you can go to tech-moms.org, and there's an application process on there. It does start with a 9-week course in web development, and then the second course is an add-on course, which is my data analytics and AI course. But going on the website, filling out the application, you'll talk to someone, and we do in-person courses in Utah, and we also do once-a-year online courses.
Awesome. All right. I think we have a few minutes for questions, correct?
Just raise your hand if you'd like, and I'll bring the mic. Anyone? Questions?
Hello. I run an accounting firm, so we do property management accounting and real estate investor accounting, so bookkeeping, tax accounting. And I'd love to introduce analytics and get their property management system and finances and pricing and all that stuff. So it's been a little bit challenging to kind of sell the Domo product, even though I think it's probably one of my greatest loves, that I've ever found in my career. So is there any advice to how to start off and sell it and just show the value and, have them love it as much as I do?
Yeah, I can take this one. I like to pride myself in being able to do that internally at my company. I think the best thing that I have found for that is just go to someone and say, like, hey, how can I help you? Give me a problem that you have. Give me a manual process you're doing every day. What are the questions you're getting asked all the time that are just, take a long time for you to solve, whether it's a little piece of data or something more complex, and just solve that problem for them and then let the actions speak for themselves. I've found the most impact doing things like that when I just go to someone and say, hey, let me help you, and then I do it, and then their eyes are like, whoa, and then you got them hooked, right? So that's the way that I've found is the best way to get people to buy into the product, is just see how you can help them and sell them that way.
Does anyone else have something?
Sure.
Something bad?
Yeah, selling Domo is a lot of fun. It's a lot easier when you know who your audience is. And I think just sort of piggybacking off of what Ashley said, I like to spend a lot of time just being curious. How big of a problem are we talking? Is this your time? Is this your money? Do you want to play more golf? Do you have a boat that you regret buying but want to sail more? Getting a sense of like what the stakes are, I think, is really, really helpful. And if you can make it easier and more accessible, I think peace of mind is like my favorite thing to sell. And Domo can totally do that. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your time, the panelists. First thing that comes to mind is like the techmoms.org. I've got my sisters and some women that are always asking about how can I get into tech and stuff like that. So I'd really want maybe to get them signed up on that way. When I started with Domo, I think the first thing was the community forums. I don't think I've spent much time in there, but being here and listening in, I think that's some places to get very resourceful material. And like when I started, I wanted to look at YouTube and find some channels where I could learn. Do you have any tips, or do you have any ones that you can what's the word? You can recommend?
Yeah, so one, we got John Lee from Dashboard Dudes. He's great. Another one is Jay Wilson with, I think it's Onyx Reporting or Data Crew. I learned a lot from him on YouTube. Mark Snodgrass, Elliot Leonard. There's a ton of really great ones. Grant Smith, yeah. All of these are people on the community forums too that you can find, and they usually have links to their videos. And if anyone wants those recommendations, just, you can find me afterward and I can help you find them on YouTube. But they're a great resource, ton of great videos. I used them a lot when I was trying to learn Domo, and I would just, watch YouTube videos all day and learn things.
And if you don't remember all of those names, if you just post the question in the community forum, they will trip over themselves to give you links. So don't worry.
They want to earn those points.
And they want you to go to their...
I'll mention actually the class, that's the Tech Moms class that I created the curriculum for, is all open source on GitHub. So if you go to GitHub and you search Tech Moms, a repository will pull up. That's github.com/techmoms/data analytics course. And in there I have 6 different modules, and Domo is one of the modules on there that you can watch all of the YouTube videos from Dashboard Dude.
Yeah, one other note, it's a little bit hidden, but if you go into the community forums and you look at past events, you can see recordings from past webinars and trainings. There's ones that, like, I've been up there with engineers who made the product. All sorts of folks have done these types of webinars on all sorts of different topics, and you can go rewatch those.
I think another thing that's really helpful too, because I've spent a lot of time searching for things, right? Like once you get more of the vocabulary, more of describing the problem, and get more comfortable with some Boolean algebra and Google, I've ended up finding really like, I wish I could remember this YouTube channel's name, but he did something with make.com and a Domo integration that absolutely blew my mind, and it was exactly what I was looking for. So I think with a lot of the written documentation out there, it can help you really narrow down what your search parameters need to be as well. So I remind myself of that all the time. Like, I just need to get better at searching. So.
I have a question. This is for everybody. When you are teaching somebody Domo or getting them brand new to it, what has been the biggest hurdle in terms of their attitude that you have experienced? Maybe a use case. How have you gotten over it? And the fun question, what's your favorite cuisine? And for Ashley, her husband's Vietnamese, so I'm assuming for Ashley, what's your favorite Vietnamese dish? That's probably better.
I mean, I guess I'll start. As far as getting people over hurdles when they're first learning Domo, I started out in Domo consulting, so that was like my entire job. And just, I think it was Ashley who said, asking people, what's your biggest problem? And then walking them through, even if it's painful, walking them through solving their own problem and celebrating with them when they are excited and have a solution to it is a great way to get people past the hurdle and addicted to Domo. So we can, yeah. And favorite cuisine, man, probably,
Something Canadian.
yeah, like maple syrup. It's all I eat.
And a big gulp. That's
On poutine. I would say I feel maybe I'm like unaware because I have the curriculum and it feels like it's so well laid out with all the videos. It's like you start here and then you do the next video and then you do the next video and then you have a dashboard. So I think this would be a question for my 2 students in the back of what the biggest hurdle is. But it seems like with the way that the Domo curriculum is laid out, it really helps people go from zero to dashboard. And then when we do the in-person workshop, it just seems like you just follow the steps. You just kind of figure it out as you go. So no hurdles, absolutely perfect. Everything's great. And
The first time I've literally ever heard that.
and then great question. My favorite cuisine is Thai food.
love it.
Love Thai food. I think the attitude thing, what I like to do is to remind people that you may never have to build a PowerPoint deck ever again. Would you like to meet in Domo and then we can just like have what we need to get to the point? I think cutting down meetings, PowerPoints put me to sleep usually. So I like to invite people to experience that, and that works really well, I think. I don't think anyone would. There's an opportunity there, I found. And my favorite cuisine is probably Korean barbecue. Yeah.
Speaking of PowerPoint, I am unable to advance mine, so if there's a technical issue.
Apple. I think attitude challenges are probably a real big one, and what I like to do is just know you're never going to really get it right the first time. So working in Domo and with different stakeholders is a very iterative process. So you get a question, and I like to just get something out there, really quickly, and then I like to drop little hints to try to get them curious about the data. I'm a big proponent of being curious, asking questions. If I put something out and they're not asking questions, then I failed. So I really like to encourage my users to ask questions, give me feedback, and I find that over time they become curious and they start to change their attitude towards using Domo and using data in general. And I would say that my favorite cuisine, like John said, my husband's Vietnamese, so I really love spring rolls. John made those last year during his presentation, and I'm sad we didn't get them this year, but that's okay.
Got a spoon.
I got a spoon, yes.
Yes.
And some great tips about Domo.
So I'll start with favorite food, cuisine, or favorite cuisine. Probably Italian. Really anything with spinach in it. And the challenges attitude-wise that I've run into that were the most challenging. So there's the easy one of not understanding what's possible and having challenges seeing where they can go. But the bigger challenge I've seen is when you're doing those practices of going around the company and trying to show it to them and do a project for them to save time, some people feel threatened. And so it can be a big challenge when you say, oh, you've got this thing that takes 4 hours, let's make it take 10 minutes. And then they say, well, what's going to happen to me, right? And so I tell people, we're all busy, we're all overwhelmed in our jobs. There's, you're not caught up on your email, there's no way. You've got to-do items, you've got, so much more value that you could bring to the table. And so trying to explain to them that sitting there doing this manual process every single time that takes a long time, they're not maximizing their value. So instead they could be either have more time to catch up on things, or they're able to use that time to provide real insights and real intelligence rather than doing rote activities that can be automated.
I just want a time check. Are we?
Yep, that was the last question.
Great. Awesome. So feel free to connect with us. We have our LinkedIn QR codes up here. Some of us can hang around after, some of us have to go to another breakout. So you can come up and ask questions. And thank you all for joining me on the panel today.
Thank
Thank you.